With the new semester upon us, as well as the twilight of the current anime season giving way to the fall, I feel compelled to share some oddly timed thoughts on how the summer graced the anime landscape. In short, this was a season that early on was labeled as containing a plethora of decent shows, but nothing individually worthwhile. Now, while I can't comment on some sequels that are being highly regarded, as I haven't gotten around to seeing the previous entries, I thought I'd give a rundown on some of the shows wrapping up in a couple of weeks. Starting off with Snow White with the red hair. It's damn good actually. I mean, it's done by Bones and the staff involved is rather well renowned, so it shouldn't come across as a total surprise. They're doing a great job with Shirayuki as a strong lead and still allowing Prince Charming to stand on his own. As the name implies, it features a fairy tale-like atmosphere and it's delivering on that premise rather well. Arslan Senki's quite the mixed bag. It's certainly not the medieval legend of the galactic heroes one may initially expect based on the show's sharing its creator, but having never read the original novels, I'm inclined to assume the main issue is the adaptation itself. The narrative's straightforward, only superficially touching on the political and moral themes it presents, and the characters involved stand as hardly compelling, which coupled with the show's lackluster execution makes it forgettable. That said, I'm still following it, probably just because it deals with military tactics, which I'm admittedly a sucker for, but I can't wholly recommend it based on that alone. It's a new Dragon Ball series, holy shit! Except it's just retelling the story everyone experienced in the Battle of Gods film a couple of years ago, and thanks to Toei's production issues, it's pretty damn ugly. I don't know how to feel about this one, at least until it approaches entirely new content in future arcs. But I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't stick to it, simply because of the franchise it's attached to. We're 3 seasons deep, so if you haven't seen it, you should definitely do it. Sure, some will claim it's overrated at this point, but I disagree. Overstated perhaps, but it's damn good in its own right. Its world building and cast interactions are particularly notable, and sure, the narrative is a complete clusterfuck, but it never ceases to be a fun ride, so I am not complaining with this one. A perfect case for a show that fizzles out. Early on, Gangsta was a show that I claimed had potential, but it should have capitalized on that by now, and with each new episode, my interest continually fades. It has its worthwhile moments, directing-wise especially, but it comes across as trying too hard to impress, when a subtle approach to its themes would lead to a far more engraining experience. The opening and ending are pretty kick-ass though, so I'd certainly give those a listen. You come for the boobs, you stay for the scales. And feathers, and fur, and slime, and more scales and webs. Okay, you can tell what this show is all about, right? What Monogatari is a fun one. I think it works rather well as a seasonal show rather than something to marathon, because it features the same humor and even joke setups pretty much across all episodes. So it's super repetitive in that sense, but separate with enough time, each episode's totally enjoyable. It handles timing and visual comedy damn well, so I'd say it's a nice lighter show to keep track of. I have way too many people raving on about this one on my feed. Now don't get me wrong, it's funny. In fact, the stuff it pulls off with visual comedy is goddamn brilliant at times. And much like the manga, it looks way better than it has any right to. But its humor style is just not my cup of tea. It's not due to it being lowbrow or how over the top it gets, as I can enjoy those, but for reasons I can't quite pinpoint, it doesn't usually click with me. Regardless, tons of people find it hilarious, so it's definitely worth checking out if the premise entices you. Shimoneta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist. Well, the title says it all, doesn't it? Similarly to the previous one, I've seen plenty of people whose opinions I value praising the show's writing as surprisingly great. Now, I'm having a fun time with the ridiculous adventures presented, but I feel a lot of its jokes, being extremely pun-centric, are lost in translation. In spite of virtually always sticking to subs, this is a type of show where a well-adapted dub would do wonders for its general enjoyment. Shokugeki no Souma is the best. I kid you not when I say that this is by far the most fun I've had with a show in 2015, ranking as one of the year's best as far as I'm concerned, and I'm saying that about basically a food porn shonen, and I am not okay with that. Analyzing it by its individual elements, it may come across as mediocre, with a basic premise and characters that feature little development, but the whole package is an absolute blast. It's a greatly handled adaptation, balancing what and when to copy and alter from the manga, and this may come across as silly, but it's the only show from this season that I'm actually looking forward to each episode. You've probably never seen Teekyuu. You should probably rectify that. It's arguably the most nonsensical series I've ever seen, and it is insane. There are 5 seasons out, as well as a spin-off show, but each episode's only 2 minutes long, so they're a breeze to go through. Due to how seemingly random everything is, it's a franchise of highs and lows, but every once in a while there is bits of comedy gold that genuinely made me laugh out loud, so yeah, consume it, it's a goddamn gem of the season. No doubt thanks to the likes of Hunter x Hunter and JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, the trend of adapting neglected manga continues with Ushio Tora. I became interested early on due to Mappa handling it, and I'm having fun with this one. I can recommend it as a trope-heavy, episodic Monster of the Week type show, especially if you're into old badass shonen. Last, and actually somewhat least, at least in terms of scale, Wakako-zake is a rather chill series, also just 2 minutes long per episode, about our lone food wanderer protagonist. She eats, she drinks, she goes... and it's alright, what can I say, I like food-obsessed loners. That's basically it for the series I followed this season. Anything that wasn't mentioned I either dropped early on or it's probably a sequel to shows I haven't seen. 2015 has been a pretty average year for anime so far, but we often take for granted the massive output of shows we get compared to a few years back, and each year still has its worthwhile gems, so I'm grateful for that. On a completely different note, and honestly the reason why I wanted to do a video in the first place, I feel like I should discuss my future plans for the channel. With my recent shift towards anime as my medium of choice for future videos, and no doubt thanks to the feedback I received on my Observing Death in Anime video, including from YouTubers from the anime community whose opinions I highly value, I've been thinking of a way to deliver regular content once more. For the unaware, I used to do Let's Plays a few years back, which I had a lot of fun with, but stopped once I enrolled to university due to scheduling issues, a lack of capable equipment in my university apartment, and general procrastination. However, I currently feel motivated to find a way. My idea so far was to halt videos for a few months, maybe deliver one or so as a test in between, but stock up on scripts, writing hopefully one per week until the end of the year, and record the lines whenever I go home. One of the big issues was the inability to edit at university, but I'm acquiring a new laptop soon, so that would be taken care of. With a handful of scripts and their respective lines recorded, I could start editing these videos, and by the time 2016 started, I should have a few ready for delivery, and this backlog would give me room for creating new ones at a consistent pace. Obviously, this also depends on the type of content I pour out, as it's easier to create short and simple videos in a timely manner. Ideally, I'd love to deliver small videos in the 4 to 6 minutes range on a weekly basis, and every once in a while tackle a more demanding project that actually involves research and a more analytical mindset. Focusing on the smaller videos though, as these would be the norm if I go through with this, I have a couple of ideas in mind. Consumer-geared anime reviews are the obvious example, being easier to make by following a template structure, but while I certainly appreciate their existence, I find them the most void of worthwhile content. Instead, whether I'd label them as reviews or not is up for debate, I'd rather discuss why a certain anime or an element in it works. It may be hard to put into words, but hopefully they'd come across as a slightly more involved take on reviewing. Alongside those, topical videos on singular pieces, be it character analysis or a look at common elements through works present in genres, directors, or studios are also viable options. Besides this focus on content, I have also been feeling the desire to rebrand the channel accompanying this change. It may seem contradictory, but as a fan of presentation purity, trying to steer from trends that soon become outdated, I've come to realize that I'd rather have no hard-coded identity on the video itself, leaving that to the video's titles and description, which can be altered at any given time, giving me a greater mobility if I ever desire to alter my username or social media profiles. Of course, if YouTube were only to implement an option similar to Vimeo that allows videos to be re-uploaded keeping its original statistics, this wouldn't be an issue, but I understand that due to the difference in users, both numerically and the community itself, it would lead to a lot of people messing with the system. Regardless, I'm aware this minimization of hard-coded branding may apparently strip the channel's identity, but I'd rather have my content speak for itself and its style and way over delivery over a @insert name here. That said, there is a necessity for proper balance I'm aware of and will strive towards. So that's basically it. I apologize for the rant, but hopefully if this works out, I'm motivated and have the infrastructures necessary to focus on my own content in the near future, something I'd love to go properly back to. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.